Did you know that more than 50% of Hollywood's biggest rock stars have been involved in shocking scandals, with some struggling with full-blown addictions to intimacy? From rock and roll legends like Iggy Pop to wild tales of Lemmy Kilmister. Here are 25 worst relationships addicts in Hollywood. 1. Mick Jagger. The famous singer of the Rolling Stones, Mick Jagger, became known for more than just his music. He loved attention and had a deep need for romance. It is said that he was with over 4,000 women, including famous models, actresses, and even everyday fans. His charm and fame made it easy for him to attract people, but it also led to heartbreak and problems in his relationships. Even as he got older, Jagger did not change much. Those close to him said he still loved the excitement of new relationships. Many believed he just could not stay with one person for long. Could he ever truly settle down, or would he always be chasing the next thrill? 2. Iggy Pop. The wild and fearless leader of punk rock, Iggy Pop, lived life on the edge. His music was loud, raw, and full of energy, just like him. While some stars kept their wild side private, Iggy showed it to the world. His love for excitement and adventure made him famous not just for his music, but also for his personal life. He was known to have been with many people, sometimes in unexpected places like behind the stage, on tour buses, or even in front of an audience. Some say that music executives even set up parties to keep him happy. By the 1970s, his lifestyle became dangerous. He would perform shirtless, jumping into crowds while covered in sweat. Fans adored him, but some also took advantage of his wild nature. After concerts, he often disappeared into the night, partying until he had no memory of what had happened. His reckless habits, combined with substance use, made his life unpredictable. Many of those who traveled with him worried he would not survive much longer. Over time, Iggy Pop found some balance in his life. Though he admitted his old desires still existed, he learned how to control them. Even with his efforts to change, he is still remembered as a symbol of excess and risk-taking. Did he truly leave his wild past behind, or was it just hidden beneath the surface? 3. Lemmy Kilmister. The leader of Motorhead, Lemmy Kilmister, lived life fast and wild. He loved whiskey, women, and rock and roll. He was open about his life, bragging that he had been with over 1,000 women. He did not want serious relationships, only fun. Lemmy was with many different women, including groupies and adult film stars. He did not care about rules or consequences. His home was filled with magazines and movies that showed his interests. To him, it was not just entertainment, but a way of life. Even though people warned him, Lemmy never thought he had a problem. He said he was just enjoying himself. But while his music lasted, his relationships did not. He used people and moved on. Until the end of his life, he lived for pleasure, never slowing down. 4. Keith Richards. The guitarist of the Rolling Stones, Keith Richards, lived a life of excess. He was known for his substance use, his charm, and his rule-breaking ways. But he had another addiction: women. For him, passion was not about love. It was a thrill, a chase, something he could never get enough of. Richards did not try to impress people like Mick Jagger. He simply took what he wanted. He did not care about emotions or consequences. Models, actresses, and strangers were all part of his wild life. His affairs were often fueled by substances and alcohol, making his judgment even worse. People saw him as strong, but those closest to him knew he was trapped by his own desires. One of his most famous relationships was with Anita Pallenberg, who had been with his bandmate Brian Jones. Their love was full of substances, fights, and chaos. It was not about happiness, but destruction. They argued, used substances, and lost themselves in a world of excess. Even as their relationship fell apart, Richards did not regret it. He thrived on the madness. regret was not a word he used. To him, passion, substances, and music were all things to enjoy without limits. As the years went by, his wild stories remained. He was a man who lived without restraint, never fully satisfied. His life was shaped by addiction, making him a legend in rock and roll history. 5. Nikki Sixx. A man who lived without limits, Nikki Sixx was the bassist of Motley Crue. His life was full of wild parties, loud music, and dangerous habits. He didn't just enjoy life. He took as much as he could, as fast as he could. Substances and desire were his biggest addictions. Every night was a blur of bright lights, screaming fans, and new women he would soon forget. He never stopped, never slowed down. He had no rules, no limits. In his book, The Opioid Diaries, he admitted to his worst moments, days lost in substances and pleasure. He always wanted more. He craved control, excitement, and escape. Every night, new women filled the emptiness inside him, but nothing lasted. Groupies, models, strangers, it didn't matter. They were just moments in his never-ending chase for something more. His bandmates saw him slipping away. He disappeared into dark rooms, only coming out when he needed his next fix, whether it was a needle or another person. He was chasing something he could never catch. The more he had, the more he wanted. But no matter how much he took, he never felt full. His body was tired, his mind was breaking, but he kept going, pushing further into danger. At his worst, he felt nothing at all. Even with all the fame, he was empty. Desire had become just another vice, and it ruled his life. He was trapped in a cycle of highs and lows, pleasure and pain. Each thrill faded too fast, leaving him desperate for the next one. Then, death came too close. Overdoses and near-death experiences forced him to face the truth. He wasn't really living. He was destroying himself. If he didn't change, he wouldn't survive. His recovery was slow and difficult, but he learned to take control of his life. He found a new way to live. 6. Slash. Best known for his guitar skills, wild hair, and top hat, Slash had another side not often talked about. His biggest addiction wasn't just music or alcohol. He was trapped in something deeper, something harder to control. For Slash, desire was everywhere. Women were drawn to him, and he never said no. It didn't matter where he was or what he was doing. He would drop everything for a night of pleasure. Even when he was working on important music, he would disappear, chasing his desires. His love for music was strong, but his need for escape was stronger. But his choices had consequences. Over time, his personal life started to suffer. Even marriage couldn't change him. His relationships were built on lies, and trust was something he couldn't keep. His wife went through heartbreak again and again, each mistake making things worse. The damage built up, and some wounds never healed. 7. Joe Perry. The famous guitarist of Aerosmith, Joe Perry, lived a life full of music and wild choices. His guitar playing was not the only thing on fire. His love for pleasure often led to trouble. Alongside Steven Tyler, he enjoyed the rock star life, where limits did not exist. Backstage, many women waited, hoping to meet him. For Perry, these moments were not just part of fame. They were something he needed and could not resist. During the 1970s and 1980s, Aerosmith's tours were not just about music. Every show ended with a group of women wanting to be chosen. Perry was addicted to the excitement of meeting someone new, never thinking about how it hurt others. He moved from one woman to another, often forgetting their names the next day. This pattern never stopped, repeating over and over. But with every thrill came loneliness. Perry's love for quick flings made real relationships hard. His marriage fell apart, and his family suffered while he chased short-term happiness. His reckless choices made him feel alone and also hurt his music career. Even when he tried to change, his past mistakes followed him. Could he ever truly escape the damage he had done? 8. Dave Navarro. Guitarist for Jane's Addiction and Red Hot Chili Peppers, Dave Navarro struggled with addiction in many forms. Substances, danger, and women filled his life, creating a toxic cycle. Unlike others who tried to hide their problems, Navarro spoke openly. He admitted his love for pleasure was just as harmful as any substance he had ever used. Navarro's life was shaped by tragedy. His mother was tragically lost when he was a teenager, leaving a deep wound inside him. He tried to fill the emptiness with reckless choices, chasing pleasure wherever he could. But no matter how many people came and went from his life, the pain never went away. He was not looking for real love. He was looking for an escape. His addiction controlled him, making his relationships unstable. No amount of pleasure was ever enough, and each new experience left him feeling emptier. Even when he tried to get help, his past still haunted him. He put his pain into music and art, but his self-destructive ways often got in the way. Could he find a way out before it was too late? 9. Rod Stewart. A life of fame and fun was what Rod Stewart lived. He was a rock star who loved music, parties, and adventure. His voice made him famous, but his love for excitement made him even more well-known. He traveled the world, singing for huge crowds, but offstage, he was always looking for more. Every city he visited brought new people and new experiences. He lived like there were no rules. He had many relationships, but they didn't last. His need for fun was stronger than his promises. Even when he wanted to change, he found it hard to resist temptation. He tried to get help and admitted that his love for excitement controlled him. As he got older, he calmed down. He looked back with both happiness and regret, knowing he had made mistakes. Though he changed, people still remember his wild past. His story remains one of fame, music, and a life lived to the fullest. 10. Anthony Kiedis, the lead singer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Anthony Kiedis lived a wild life. He loved music, but he also chased danger. His world was full of parties, excitement, and risky choices. He wanted to feel everything to the extreme. For him, relationships were short and intense. He was always looking for something new, but nothing seemed to last. His need for excitement often led him to make bad decisions. He shared his struggles in his book Scar Tissue, where he talked about his wild past and the mistakes he made. His troubles didn't stop at relationships. He also battled substance addiction, which made his life even harder. He was caught in a cycle of searching for thrills while dealing with serious problems. His bandmates saw how his choices put his music and health at risk. Over time, he realized he needed to change. He worked hard to become healthier and to take control of his life. Even though his past still haunts him, he learned from his mistakes. Today, he is known not just for his music, but also for his journey of struggle and recovery. 11. David Bowie was a music legend known for his creativity and bold style. David Bowie struggled with deep personal issues behind the fame. In the 1970s, at the height of his career, Bowie lived a life of extreme excess. He had countless relationships, always chasing the next thrill. His need for new experiences led him into risky situations, and few questioned the darker side of his actions. Bowie's love for excitement was tied to his substance use. He relied on stimulants to keep going and turned to physical pleasure to fill an emptiness he could never fully satisfy. Stories of wild parties and reckless behavior became legendary, but behind the glamour, there was a troubling reality. One of the most controversial parts of Bowie's past was his involvement with underage groupies. Back then, the rock world ignored these issues, seeing them as part of the lifestyle. But looking back, it is clear that this behavior was harmful. With fame giving him access to anything he wanted, Bowie lost control, sinking deeper into addiction and self-destruction. Later in life, Bowie found stability. His marriage to Iman helped him create a more grounded life, but the shadows of his past remained. His story is a reminder that addiction, when mistaken for freedom, can lead even the most brilliant people down a dark path. 12. Elton John battled addiction not just with substances and alcohol, but also with relationships. Elton John's search for love was an escape, a way to mask the pain he had carried since childhood. He went from one lover to the next, always seeking, but never truly finding what he needed. Unlike other rock stars, Elton's struggles weren't celebrated. They were hidden beneath his flashy performances. He wasn't chasing adventure, he was running from himself. But no matter how much he tried to escape, he was left feeling more lost and broken. In the early 1990s, Elton finally faced reality. Seeking help for his substance and alcohol addiction forced him to confront his unhealthy relationship habits as well. For the first time, he understood that his compulsions were destroying him. Through sobriety, he gained clarity, and real love became possible. His marriage to David Furnish marked a turning point, proving that even those who feel completely lost can find their way back. Known as the Prince of Darkness, Ozzy Osbourne became famous for his wild rock star life, but his biggest fight wasn't just against substances or alcohol, it was against his own need for pleasure. His marriage to Sharon Osbourne survived many troubles, but his urges almost destroyed it. For Ozzy, cheating wasn't just a mistake, it was something he couldn't stop, like an addiction that took over his mind. For years, Ozzy had secret affairs, including a long relationship with his hairstylist. When Sharon found out, she was heartbroken. She had stood by him through his worst moments, but this betrayal was different. Unlike substances or alcohol, this addiction wasn't something Ozzy could quit by willpower alone. It controlled him, making every new affair feel like a thrill he couldn't resist. Eventually, Ozzy got help, admitting that his problem was ruining his life. But even with therapy, change wasn't easy. His addiction blurred the line between being a rock star and having a deep mental struggle. It nearly cost him everything. Sharon gave him another chance, showing their bond was strong, but Ozzy's story is a warning. Addiction in any form can take control no matter how powerful someone seems. 14. Axl Rose was the face of rebellion, a rock star who did whatever he wanted. Axl Rose's compulsive behavior wasn't just about wanting women, it was about control. As the lead singer of Guns N' Roses, he had fame and fortune, but his relationships were full of chaos. Women were drawn to him, but many realized too late that being with Axl meant being stuck in a cycle of obsession and destruction. Over time, Axl became more isolated. Unlike other rock stars who tried to face their demons, he never seemed to accept his struggles. Instead, he withdrew from the world, surrounding himself with only a few trusted people. His story is a lesson. When power and desire spiral out of control, they don't just ruin relationships, they can trap a legend in his own lonely world. 15. Gene Simmons lived the rock star life to the fullest. Gene Simmons made sure everyone knew about his wild lifestyle as the face of Kiss. He bragged about being with thousands of women and even kept photos as proof. To the world, it looked like a dream life. But behind the fame, his need for new experiences became an obsession. For years, he brushed off concerns, saying it was just part of being a rock star. But at home, his longtime partner, Shannon Tweed, saw the real story. She put up with his cheating for a long time, but eventually it became too much. For Simmons, it wasn't about love. It was about chasing the next thrill, no matter the damage. His world fell apart when Tweed finally had enough. On his reality show, she gave him a choice: change or lose everything. For the first time, Simmons admitted the truth. What he once thought was just fun was really an addiction, one that almost cost him the person who cared for him the most. 16. Bono. Isn't the typical rock star who lost control. Bono is famous for his activism as much as his music, but fame comes with temptations, and even he struggled to stay grounded. Unlike others, his troubles weren't wild scandals, but quiet battles that nearly destroyed his marriage. Life on tour meant constant attention, endless travel, and tempting situations. While he never called himself an addict, Bono admitted the rock star lifestyle pushed his limits. Over the years, rumors spread about affairs and mistakes that tested his marriage to Allie Hewson. Some dismissed them as gossip, but Bono himself said it was hard to stay grounded in a world where everything was possible. Unlike many who lost everything, Bono realized the danger before it was too late. He chose to step back and focus on his marriage before it was beyond repair. His story shows that addiction isn't always about wild behavior. It can also be about losing yourself in a life that never stops. The real challenge is knowing when to walk away before it's too late. 17. Prince was a music legend, but his life was full of mystery. Prince's songs, style, and performances were all about passion. But behind the fame, he was a man with a deep hunger. His obsession with love and desire wasn't just about fun. It controlled his life. Every song, every performance, every lyric carried that energy. People saw a quiet genius, but those close to him knew the truth. His need for connection ruled him. He was always searching, always wanting more. His relationships were like fire, burning hot but never lasting. He had famous lovers like Madonna and Kim Basinger, but also unknown women who caught his eye. He wasn't just looking for love. He wanted something perfect. He shaped his lovers, turning them into his vision of beauty. But in the end, it was never enough. His need for passion was in his music. Songs like Darling Nikki and Erotic City weren't just catchy. They were his confessions. Even when he turned to spirituality later in life, his past still echoed in his music. No matter how much he tried to change, that desire was always part of him. 18. Steven Tyler lived for more music, more fun, more excitement. Steven Tyler wanted everything in excess, and love was no different. He didn't just enjoy romance, he needed it. He once called himself a teenage rock god on steroids, always chasing the next thrill. But beneath the parties and crazy stories was a man losing control. Unlike other rock stars who bragged about their wild lives, Tyler's problem ran deeper. He wasn't just enjoying fame, he was trapped by his own desires. He left a trail of broken relationships and scandals. The most shocking? He took legal guardianship of a 16-year-old girl just so he could be with her. It showed how far his obsession could take him. His need for romance went hand in hand with his struggles with substances. Stimulants and opioids fueled his reckless choices. His bandmates watched as he pushed away people who cared about him. He went to rehab many times, but nothing seemed to change. It wasn't until he was about to lose everything that he finally realized the truth. No matter how many fans, no matter how many lovers, it was never going to be enough. 19. Eric Clapton struggled with substances and alcohol, but he had another addiction that few talked about. His obsession with women, Eric Clapton treated love like a substance, using quick flings to feel good for a moment, only to end up feeling worse. His relationships were a mess, full of cheating and unhealthy attachments. The most famous example was his pursuit of Pattie Boyd, who was married to his best friend, George Harrison. Clapton didn't just like her, he was obsessed. He needed to have her, no matter the cost. When he finally did, the excitement faded fast. His need for new thrills never stopped, and he ended up hurting her just like he had hurt so many others. 20. Lenny Kravitz had it all: fame, money, and women, Lenny Kravitz lived the classic rock star life, where everything came easy and nothing had limits. But after years of endless hookups and meaningless nights, he felt empty. Unlike others in his world, Kravitz made a bold decision. He stopped. He took a vow of celibacy, stepping away from the lifestyle that had shaped him for so long. It wasn't easy. Temptation was everywhere, but he forced himself to face the loneliness he had been running from. For years, he stayed celibate, hoping to find something real. He wanted more than just physical pleasure. He wanted connection. It was an unusual move for a rock star, but for Kravitz, it was the only way to truly move forward. Guitarist of The Who, Pete Townshend didn't follow the usual rock star lifestyle of wild parties and endless affairs. His struggle was different. He wasn't chasing excitement. He was trapped by an addiction to explicit material. It took over his life, isolating him from real connections. Instead of seeking casual encounters, he spent hours lost in images that controlled his thoughts. The more he fed the habit, the more it consumed him. It wasn't just a distraction. It became his world. He couldn't stop, even as it hurt his relationships and sense of self. Then came the scandal. Authorities investigated him for accessing illegal content. He claimed he was researching the dangers of exploitation, but people weren't quick to believe him. The controversy damaged his reputation, leaving many wondering if he was a victim of addiction or something worse. No matter the truth, the harm was done. Townshend admitted that his addiction had changed him. He struggled to feel real intimacy, and his mind became wired to a fantasy instead of reality. He was stuck in a cycle of guilt and detachment, unable to break free on his own. 22. John Mayer. Never fitting the image of a wild rock star, John Mayer wasn't known for reckless substance use or out-of-control parties. But he had his own battle, an addiction to compulsive behavior. It wasn't about romance. It was an endless need that never truly satisfied him. He had fame, fortune, and any woman he wanted, but nothing was enough. No relationship filled the emptiness inside him. He moved from one high-profile romance to another: Jennifer Aniston, Taylor Swift, Jessica Simpson. But love was never the goal. These relationships were distractions, ways to fill the void. His struggles showed in how he talked about women. He treated past relationships like stories to entertain others, making crude jokes instead of showing respect. He once compared Jessica Simpson to an addiction, something he couldn't resist but didn't value. His words burned bridges, leaving behind a trail of hurt and scandal. Underneath it all, he knew he had a problem. He admitted that his compulsive behavior had become a way to escape his own pain. It wasn't about passion, it was about proving something to himself. But every conquest left him feeling emptier than before. Eventually, he had to face reality. He stepped out of the spotlight trying to change. He sought sobriety, not just from alcohol, but from the unhealthy patterns that had controlled his life. He worked to rebuild himself, to understand real connection. But the question remains, can a man who only knew love as an obsession ever truly change? 23. Robbie Williams. Wasn't just looking for fun, Robbie Williams needed attention, approval, and anything that could quiet the chaos in his head. It wasn't just about being with someone, it was about feeling wanted, even for a moment. He jumped from one short romance to another, chasing something he couldn't name. Fame, substances, and approval were all part of the same cycle. No matter what he did, it was never enough. He kept running, trying to escape his own fears. At his worst, he lost control. He couldn't stay loyal. He couldn't build real relationships. Every exciting moment was followed by guilt, and every time he thought he had found what he needed, it slipped away. He was trapped in his own choices, repeating the same mistakes. His love life showed the damage. His relationship with Jerry Halliwell fell apart under the weight of his problems. Even when he met Ada Field, the ghosts of his past threatened to ruin everything. He knew he had to change. But could he? The moment of truth came when he had to face himself. He thought pleasure would fix everything, but it never did. The real issue was his fear of being alone, his fear of dealing with his own struggles. Getting better wasn't easy. He had to change the way he thought about love and connection. He had to fight against his old habits. With therapy, self-reflection, and a steady relationship, he started to heal. 24. Billy Idol. As the face of wild rock and roll in the 1980s, Billy Idol lived a storm of substances, parties, and pleasure. But underneath the flashy image, there was something darker, a hunger that could never be satisfied. He wasn't just looking for fun. He needed it, like air, and it nearly destroyed him. At the peak of his fame, he lost control. He locked himself in a hotel for nearly a month, drowning in substances and reckless behavior. Opioids, stimulants, and endless nights pushed him to the limit. His friends watched helplessly as he missed shows, made wild choices, and came dangerously close to death. Unlike some rock stars who eventually slowed down, Idol never seemed to stop. He kept chasing the high, even as it slipped further away. But nothing lasts forever. In 1990, his luck ran out. A serious motorcycle crash left him broken and unable to move for months. He was forced into sobriety, trapped in his own body with nowhere to run. For the first time, he had to face the truth. His wild lifestyle wasn't about fun. It was about escape. Recovery was slow and painful. He had to learn that his old ways weren't the answer. It took time, but he started to change. Now, looking back, he sees how close he came to losing everything. His story is a warning. Some people find their way back, but others don't. Some keep falling until there's nothing left. 25. Marilyn Manson. Built his fame on chaos, Marilyn Manson's name became a symbol of rebellion and shock. But behind the wild image was something even darker. His obsession with control went beyond typical rock star behavior. It wasn't just about fun. It was about power and pushing limits in dangerous ways. In his book, The Long, Hard Road Out of Hell, Manson gave a disturbing look into his life. His relationships weren't about love or even attraction. They were about control. He didn't just want attention. He wanted total dominance. He used compulsive behavior not as a connection, but as a weapon. His partners weren't equals. They were pieces in his twisted games. For Manson, the thrill wasn't in the act. It was in the power he held over others. As time went on, the darkness only grew. People close to him started speaking out, revealing horrifying truths. The stories weren't just about excess. They were about cruelty, control, and fear. His relationships with Rose McGowan, Evan Rachel Wood, and Dita Von Teese all ended badly. Later, Wood shared shocking claims, saying Manson kept her trapped in fear, controlling her every move. His addiction wasn't about wanting more. It was about taking more, no matter the cost. Unlike others who realize their mistakes and try to change, Manson never seemed to regret his actions. He didn't run from his dark side. He embraced it. Even as more accusations surfaced, he refused to back down. Some still saw him as a misunderstood artist. Others saw something much worse.